All right, fellas, we got the three of you guys in the same chapter here because we all need to work on very similar things, which is getting this foot down first and then rotating our upper body. Delia, we're going to be thinking about getting a shorter stride to help us achieve this. And that's going to be different for Bisnell and Belcourt. But before we dive into the specifics, I'll let each of you guys watch your video here. And then we will get into that note of wanting our foot to get down first and then our shoulders rotate to throw. And we'll let you watch that again. And then we can go to here. And the same thing. Foot down first, then throw. Let's just see that again. And then we will go to here. And same thing, but like we said, if we just get our stride shorter, I think that's going to take care of this issue for you. Just looks like we're really trying to get out there, when I think if we just condense that stride, we're going to be A-okay with making sure our foot is down first before we begin to rotate that upper body. So again, you can kind of watch here. When does your shoulder start to rotate compared to when that front foot gets all the way into the ground? And what we'll do now here, fellas, is we'll take our videos back to the moment our front foot is fully into the ground. Bam. And we'll pause it, right? Front foot's all the way into the ground. We come back over here and we do the same thing. Into the ground. It's a little blurry because of the impact of your foot going into the ground. Was shaking the camera. And we do the same thing over here. And bam, do the same thing. We stop once that foot's get all the way into the ground. And then now we can kind of make these a little bit smaller here for a second so we can see all of us at the same time. And we can also then get a big league video to join us here so we can see some differences. Let's get someone like Garrett Cole, who's very fundamentally sound in his delivery. And we put him, well, first let's keep him big so we can watch. when that front foot gets down on the ground. And we'll just kind of first compare these side views. And we can see how for each of you guys in this side view, we have our back elbow or even our back elbow and back shoulder already starting to rotate forward. Another thing we can notice is the front shoulder and how much it's opened up already at this point of that front foot getting into the ground versus Garrett Cole's shoulder's still here. His glove is right here, and that arm is still loaded back. He hasn't begun to rotate those shoulders, that elbow forward, until after that front foot gets into the ground. If we then get someone for that front view, let me get you back to where you need to be, that right there. If we then get, like I said, a front view, front view, let's just do Zach Wheeler since he's here. And we get him to pause when that front foot hits the ground. Bam. Front foot, ground, shoulders completely to the side. So we then get him smaller and look at his positioning compared to your guys' positionings for that front view. We can see how those shoulders are opening, shoulders are opened versus shoulders being closed. And for Delia, I think it's Delia. Like I said, for you, but if we just had that stride shorter and we didn't have to hit such big heel and then the toes, and we were like foot in the ground right now, the whole foot in the ground, look where your shoulders are at. So if we thought about striding a little bit shorter, it's going to be easier for your full foot to hit the ground all at once versus this huge reach that you're doing where the heel is very easy to hit first and then take that long time for the rest of the foot to get in. And that entire time that foot's trying to get in is also the time that your shoulders are starting to rotate forward, losing out on power and adding stress to our arm that we can avoid if we just wait to rotate those shoulders until after that front foot gets into the ground. So that's what we mean for each of you when we say foot down first, then rotate the upper body. If we want to have this energy flow down the mound from the ground up, we got to wait for things to get into the ground fully before the things that are up can take over. Which means if we start to go around before we're connected, we're losing out on power that can be used to help this throw. And when that power does not have the time to get up, now the throw's got to try to create that power on its own. And that's when the stress gets added. So if we can just shorten up this stride and think instead of heel hitting here, we think even just like heel hitting here. And instead of it just being the heel that's hitting here, we'll be able to get maybe at least half the foot landing all at once. and then just a little bit of the toes resting in. And if we do that, bam, we're going to be in a lot better alignment to be able to have that foot all the way in the ground first, and then your shoulders rotate, versus being here compared to here. So you would be here when that heel first hits, but by the time everything, by the time everything gets in the ground, we're opening. And we can see, like I just accidentally did with Wheeler, once that foot's in the ground, I can keep going forward with it, and his shoulders are still in line. Because now he gets the ability to rotate the shoulders forward versus the shoulders rotating slightly over here, which then makes it a little bit more difficult for you to get out this way. But you still do a good job getting out this way, primarily because you had such that big stride forcing that energy that way. So a little bit shorter stride is going to help a lot there. And then same thing, we can see that difference in a good upper body at the moment that front foot gets in the ground versus what your body is getting to when you get into the ground. Same thing, your big heel first, but even if the heel was the first thing, or even if the heel and the foot was the first thing that went in the ground all at once at this moment in time, we're still getting opened a little bit early, and that's mostly because of your glove. Your glove is starting over here, which is good, but instead of finishing it into the body, into the body, into the body to keep your chin over your shoulder, your glove does not go into the body. Instead, it just keeps going out here. So now your elbow goes out here, and then very quickly, then your shoulder is going to go out there. And then once your shoulder goes out there, this shoulder is going to come here. And now your shoulders are rotating without you even wanting them to rotate or being the time to rotate them. So now you're stuck trying to throw the baseball this way, with only versus all of this, all of that, all of that. So I want to work on learning how to control the glove so your shoulders don't open up, so that way you can have that foot down before those shoulders start wanting to rotate around. This right here, this elbow getting up this high, is then forcing it to have to drop down low. And that right there is a movement that this opening up, this getting out here, is helping that transition. So if we didn't have to go through this transition of this elbow being super high and then having to get back to even with the shoulders, this having to go bam, well, how can we get that to go bam? Well, we can kind of take this and go bam with it, right? And that's why now your shoulders are on this very awkward angle that you're now trying to throw around. So we need to learn how to properly load our arm so that way we're not hiking this elbow up and then that elbow having to fling underneath our hand. We can see how the hand is right over here, and now this elbow is going to have to fling underneath that hand, but then it's never above the hand, or I'm sorry, it's never below the hand. When we are here, we can see that we got that hand and that elbow in a nice alignment up here. That alignment for yours, that alignment for you is not occurring until that elbow swings underneath the hand and then it keeps on going in that swinging pendulum type way, versus the hand getting loaded and then being able to come through, right? We want to think about getting that arm loaded up behind us, whether that's behind us towards second base or behind us with it back behind our back. Your arm gets loaded as it's being thrown, right? And the reason that's happening is because things are having to happen so quickly to get out of this, to get us into a position to throw, that we just kind of miss that window of being loaded back here, right? So because we get this so high so quick, we got to get this elbow in line with the shoulder, that then it becomes this, and that kind of opens us up because it's quicker to get things to rotate this way now instead of that way. So we'll just want to work on preventing the elbow from really wanting to get any much higher than this, and just have the hand load from there versus the elbow keep going. And now instead of the hand loading up, we're going to have more of the elbow going down to help that hand travel up. So if we could just have that hand start going up from here without that need of the elbow to keep going up, we're going to stay in a lot better sync with the rest of our body. So now if you three guys really want to work on this stuff, go onto my YouTube page. Go over to the playlists. Scroll until you find the playlist that's titled Mechanical Drills. Here it is. View full playlist. Oh, that's mechanical breakdowns. I'm sorry. Mechanical Drills. View full playlist. And then now you got the Improving Hip Shoulder Separation Series 6. Or separation. You got Series 6, Series 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All of these here are going to help your body become more and more comfortable having that front foot down and the shoulders staying closed. Being able to have the shoulders and the hips in different directions without the shoulders going with those hips. So again, mechanical drill playlist. Anything that you see that says improving my hip shoulder separation is going to be great. And then you can come down even further, and then we can get some med ball workouts. You hop in there and find some that look like they're working that. You can go into the throwing drill playlist and look at the different throwing drills and see how they're incorporating the lower half. Right? Let's use our resources to help us get ourselves better here. All right, guys, we got the three of you in the same chapter because we all need to work on very similar things, and that is a firm front side. Bittner, you also will want to work on how we're loading our arm, so we'll get to that as well. But for the bulk of this, we're going to be talking about our stability in our front leg. Shandon, as you can see, we're mentioning a shorter stride is going to be helpful for you in this regard, in terms of your stability. So what we'll do first is we'll let each of you see your video 2 times through, and then we will get into the details of this by utilizing Hunter Brown over here as our big league example. So here we go. And we'll take that back so you can do it one more time, thinking about the stability in your lower half. Also noting how much we're just going down, 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 and tilting back, 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 back. trying to generate our power rather than just going forward with momentum to create power. We'll get into that as well later on. So we'll go over now to Shandon. Let Shandon have the same opportunity to read his note here about shorter stride for better stability to help with his power production. So it's kind of noticing how far that stride is going with that front leg, and then how that's kind of preventing your body's ability to continue its rotation with the chest and the hips after release. We're kind of just stuck forward right there with our belt buckle just still facing home plate, the center of our chest still facing home plate, versus those kind of getting rotated a little bit more through, giving our arm more time to slow itself down. So we'll get into that as well in a little bit after we allow Bittner the opportunity to read his notes and watch his video 2 times through. All right, we'll do that one more time. Also, I don't get what's up with you lefties wearing your first baseman's gloves for pitching. You and Calan both do that. Let's use our pitching gloves for pitching for now on. So we can see with your front leg just how much once it gets into that ground, everything just keeps going forward. However, when we throw, we're doing rotate. Our hips have done rotate. Everything should continue to rotate to finish a rotate. But you rotate, and then go forward to try to slow that down. It's not going to be great for our power production, and it's not the greatest for our arm's health. So what we're going to do now, fellas, is we'll take us all to that moment that front foot, bam, gets into the ground. And we will actually not do that yet, because we're going to get all of us on the screen at the same time. So Shandon, taking you back until bam, foot in the ground. Get you a little smaller. And then same thing over here. Bam. And then we can get Hunter Brown next. And we'll let him first stay big. And we'll watch once his front leg gets into the ground. We'll pause him and we'll talk about what we're going to look at for each of us. Okay, so that front foot, bam, it's in the ground. If we draw our line here and kind of outline his leg, I kind of missed it there a little bit. And now we proceed to let him continue through his delivery. We can see that his leg is becoming sturdier and sturdier. And he does that by locking it out or straightening it out, as we can see here, right? We're firming up that front leg. And as we firm up that front leg, what do we notice that chest is able to do? As the front leg firms up, it allows us to get out in front more. And as we're able to get out in front more, that ball is getting released closer and closer towards home plate, which is not only helping our power get towards home plate, but our accuracy going towards home plate, the ability to command our pitches. And then we can note that as that leg stiffens up, it stays that way, so that way his body can rotate around it, right? This back leg is going to come rotate around it. His throwing shoulder was able to rotate around it. Eyes staying on the target the whole time. And he's nice and finished. So we'll pause him again at that front foot getting in the ground. We'll bring him down here. And now we'll draw some of these lines on you guys like we just did with Hunter Brown. And we will take each of your videos through and see what's happening. Okay, so we'll first start with Shandon here. And we can see it's doing a good job starting there. But then because the stride's so big, we can't really finish around that front leg the same way we see Hunter Brown be able to finish around his front leg. And I am putting a lot of thought into the reason that's happening for you, bud, is because this stride is just really big. We can see we're almost in mid-air for a split second right there. And we're just really wide with our feet. You can see how close this knee is to the ground here. And then, oops, I'm still on Hunter Brown. And then how even much lower it gets as you're throwing. Just everything's really low to the ground here. I think it's just because your legs are so spread out versus Hunter Brown. Yeah, he's striding out far, but he's still tall when he's making that throw. So I'm thinking that's why we're going to want a shorter stride for you. Come over here. I realize I hit the clear button. And we'll let your delivery continue. And we can see how that knee is kind of already getting out there now before we see any of that leg trying to get firm for us. Which again, oops, makes it a little bit harder for us to rotate around that front leg. And that's why we see a lot of your energy often falling forward down the mound after each throw, falling more forward or towards that camera and that front view versus Hunter Brown's ability to finish around versus trying to go around, but then it's forward. So a firmer leg is going to help you with that better finish, which is going to help you with that ability to also get things out in front more. Just like we see with Hunter Brown at his moment of release. And then we do that same thing for you then, bud. And we draw that line. That line. We hit Hunter Brown again. And we allow yours to go through. And we can just watch how that knee has leaked in front. And then it's just going to keep going more and 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 more in front. And just like we just got done mentioning with Woerpel, that's why your body finishes really far forward versus being able to stay there and rotate around, right? This mound goes so far down in the facility that you guys should be thinking there's no need for us to ever ever get off of the mound and be on the black rubber. Right? We should be able to finish right here and stay on our mound the entire time. We also want to, Bittner, address this elbow bend. This ball is, from here, we want this arm to load up, this hand to get above the elbow. If I pull Hunter Brown back up and get him big, right, and we get him here, then we get you here. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I can do that. And then some more. I don't know how I'm going to get you on. All right. So if we watch his hand here, Hunter Brown, how the hand is going above the elbow. The hand just goes above the elbow. And that puts his elbow bend more than 90 degrees once it's loaded. Your hand, as it's going up to try to get above the elbow, is going just more to the ear. So your elbow, instead of your hand just going up with the bend that your elbow already has, like Hunter Brown does, how his hand just goes up above that elbow and doesn't get any closer to the head, your hand is not going up, it's coming in. You're bending your elbow more, and that's getting your hand right to your ear. And now, because that ball is at your ear, it's now going to sling around yourself. And now you got this happening, right? You got this big slingshot happening. Actually, slingshot's not a good term. You're like casting this arm out. You're throwing around yourself versus throwing through yourself forward. And that's just adding stress to the arm. So we're going to want to learn how to get a good 90-90 load. If I get a big league video here that's more from the side than that Hunter Brown one was. You can use another guy that I'm sure you've heard of before since his time with the Tigers. And we'll do that same kind of process here, where we're going to see the hand load up to more of this 90-degree bend in the elbow versus when your front foot gets into the ground, this is that elbow bend that you have, versus when these guys' front foot's getting into the ground, we're more at 90-degree angles. 90-degree angles. I could pull up endless guys here, and they're all going to be in 90-degree angles. Foot's in the ground, 90-degree angle in his forearm, upper arm. Foot's in the ground, forearm, 90-degree angle. That's back view is not going to, I mean, we can still watch it. It's not going to be as easy to tell the angles. But foot's in the ground, there's our 90-degree angle. So we're going to want to also learn how to load our arm up versus loading our arm into our head. And then Shandon, again, we're going to want to learn how to just have a little bit shorter of a stride. Instead of that heel landing here, think about that heel landing 3 inches shorter. And then working on, once that front leg gets in the ground, locking that thing out so we can get a nice, firm, sturdy finish to our delivery. So now, if you 3 guys are serious about wanting to work on this and get better, go to the YouTube page, click on the playlist, scroll till you see mechanical drills, click the button that says view full playlist. And now we go down and we look for the drills that look like they could be helpful, right? Well, okay, if I'm standing on only one leg and making that throw, I bet you I have to be pretty sturdy with that. So maybe I check out what that throwing drill looks like. Maybe I come down a little bit further and, excuse me, oh, I see med ball workout. I wonder if there's any med ball throws that I can do that'll help me with that. I look through the various throwing drills and see if there's anything that looks more specific for that front leg. I can also, because we're talking about the stability and the strength in that front leg, I can go to the mobility, stability, and balance playlist. And I can look at that and I can see things that say single leg. Oh, well, if I'm on a single leg, maybe I can strengthen that leg. Some stability. Oh, there's some stability stuff, right? I can go through this. This is a great one right here. RDL reaches. I'm going to be on one leg, having to go up and down, just like I do in my throwing motion. I highly recommend we do that exercise, right? Let's use these single leg stability. That's probably something that's good as well, right? So let's use these resources here and get ourselves better on our own time. All right, fellas, the 3 of you guys are in the same chapter because we all have a very similar adjustment we're looking to make here, and that involves our arm and the path that it's taking to get loaded and ready to throw. And our arm is ready to throw and needs to be loaded in this good, strong, safe position once our front foot hits the ground. Because once our front foot hits the ground, it's now time for our upper body to rotate around. And what we're going to notice with the 3 of you guys, either how we're loading our arm or when we're loading our arm is not the healthiest and strongest way that we possibly can. So we'll first start off with all 3 of you guys getting to watch your individual video 2 times through, and then we will use Mizarowski, and I have one other, Paul Skeens, to help us illustrate our adjustment we're looking to make. So we'll start off with Helstrom. We'll let you watch your video. Like I said, 2 times, opportunity to read your note here about why we're wanting to make this adjustment with our arm load. And we'll do that one more time. And what we actually may do, I might get Ben Joyce for you, because your arm load is quick to get up there, but I think having Ben Joyce will help really illustrate our point with you. Our next guy, have the opportunity to read your note here, and then watch your clip twice. One thing I do want you to make sure is during our bullpens, we are making sure we're coming set, right? If I didn't have your slow-mo start when it was, we would have never have seen even a close attempt to coming set, where if we get it here, and as soon as we get here, we just watch how your hands are going down. Slow-mo kicks in, but that foot's already starting to come up. So if there was no slow-mo to stop these hands from going down, 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 it would have been a very easy balk call. So we got to learn how to hands down, pause, and then we can start lifting the leg. Because if we're just boom and going, boom and going, boom and going, we're going to have no ability to control the running game. And then we got McConnell. Right, we're mentioning this elbow hike. So just kind of note and watch your elbow as we're going through your arm path here, your hand separation. and how that elbow just gets super, super high, and then it's got to drop down low just to get back even with your shoulders. There's another guy on your team that has that same thing. I forgot who it was. I think it might have been Slim Shady. I'm not too sure, though. But there is another guy who has that, but he was working with something other major in his delivery, and that's why he's not in your group. So this right here is what I'm referring to as an elbow hike. Right? At this point in time, your shoulder and elbow are already at the point that the arm needs to be at for this to be considered loaded and ready to throw. The only thing that needs to change is we got to get this hand to now go from the position it's currently in to loading up. And what we're going to see, instead of the hand loading up, it's your elbow that keeps loading up. Your hand stays down low. Now your elbow is above your shoulder and your hand is even with your shoulder. So now your elbow's got to drop down to get even with your shoulder to get your now hand to get above it. And now your hand is super close to your elbow. So now your hand is super close to your head with this really tight bend in your elbow. And because of that tight bend to your elbow, now when we go to throw, we're throwing around ourselves. So that arm really goes around, that hand is going around. And that's why I wasn't even able to capture it in video, because I was not anticipating you to get that far around. If we pause all of us at this moment of foot strike, bam, that front foot's in the ground, and we make us a little bit smaller. We do the same thing over here. Once that front foot gets all the way in the ground, and then we'll make us a little bit smaller. And get our third guy up here. Take you to foot strike. And then we will watch Mizorowski one time through without stopping, and then we will pause him as well at that moment of foot strike. And so foot's in the ground. We get him smaller. We can get Paul Skeens up here, who's already paused at his foot getting into the ground. We'll also put him over here. And then, like I said, for who was this? Helstrom. I will also get Ben Joyce real quick for you. And we will get him paused at the moment of foot strike. Okay, and get him over here. So what we're going to now notice, guys, is our positioning of our shoulders to elbow to our hand. So I'll draw that over here. Shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. We get rid of Ben Joyce, and we're going to see that that same thing is very much apparent with Skeens, shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. And we do that same thing over here, shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to elbow, elbow to hand. And we're getting that 90-degree bend, in each of their elbows. We can also see that 90-degree bend in their armpit, armpit, and armpit. If we then look at you guys, we can see the 90-degree bend in the armpit, but we got like a 45-degree bend there. If we look over here, we got close to a 90-degree bend in the armpit, but we got a big ol' 110-degree bend down here because of how far away it is from our body. We need to get this up, which will help get this up a little bit more as well. And we look over here, and we would say we got the 90-degree and the 90-degree, but it's already starting to rotate. So it's not in a good, strong, loaded position. So if we then get Ben Joyce up for Helstrom here, like we were saying, your arm, your hand gets into that 90-ish degree bend and above the elbow quickly. So does Ben Joyce. All right, your guys' upper bodies are rather similar, except for you're leaning back because that's how you're trying to create power, which is a not very efficient way. You're trying to tilt and then lean versus just go. All you guys, I'm always trying to say, get it up, get it going. If you want to throw hard, we gotta get going. Not this tilting back to then try to tilt forward stuff. Anyways, what we can notice, what does Ben Joyce continue to do? Once his hand gets here and it's going in that backwards motion, it's going into his back muscles, just like yours is. It keeps going. It keeps going. So that way it doesn't start to go the other way before that front foot gets all the way in the ground. And you can see as your front foot is getting all the way in the ground, that throw is starting to come. So we need to find a way for it to stay back there. We need to find a way for it to stay back here until after that front foot hits the ground. Just like we see Ben Joyce doing. If we then shift our focus to over here, and we use this Skeens video, boom, because we don't need your front view right now. What we're going to watch is noticing how as this hand loads up, it gets above the elbow. Okay, because right here, you guys are in rather similar positions with your hands and your arms. But what Skeens does is he gets his hand to go up to get that arm in that good loaded 90 degree position. Your hand is not going to go up all that much. And now we're in the foot is in the ground, loaded position, which has this real low elbow, and this hand then kind of tilting back away from us. So we need to learn how to load this arm up. We got to learn how to, from here, instead of it just kind of just turning, instead of us just kind of turning these shoulders with this arm way back here, right? We're kind of just turning those shoulders, and now this arm kind of drags through. We need to be here And now we need to load this arm up. We need to get this hand up above our head, or at least like at our head level, right? Getting that hand loaded up versus the hand being loaded down. And then for us over here, we want to be thinking that we got all of this trying to get ourselves in a strong loaded position with our arm, and we don't want this elbow to get higher than this point here. You guys are in similar positions, but watch how the elbow of yours is going to climb above your line versus Mizarowski. It looks like it goes above the line, but it's not going above it. It's going this way. Yours, yes, is going that way behind you in your back, but it's also going up to the sky. And that's what then puts you in this super hand close to your shoulder. So then as your hand starts to flip with your shoulders rotating, it's keeping it so close to your head, which is then forcing us to cast around ourselves big time. Versus being a guy that's got a low slot like Mizarowski, but we don't have to go around ourselves to get there. We can go forward with that throw to get there. What I also want to mention before we wrap up your guys' chapter here is there's nothing wrong with throwing across our body if that's how our body wants to do things. But I don't think your body wants to be across your body, or at least not this drastic across your body. If we drew that straight line from that toe here and this foot here, that's straight to the target. We are significantly across our body. Again, nothing wrong with that if the rest of our body can organize with that. But what we're going to see is that your upper body starts to tilt big time this way, which shows me that your body is trying to get back to a more centralized location from what you started at. And then we continue to fall kind of heavy over that way. There's guys that have low slots that throw across their bodies that aren't having to rip and pull their upper body to get there. So if I just get one of the first guys I can see that I know is a low slot and across their body guy. Here we go. And he's left-handed. Perfect. Oops. So he's slightly crossed his body, but notice how there's no leaning to have to get back around, right? He's got the low slot. His stride is across his body, but he's not having to tilt his upper body back this way to make that throw. He's just right there with it. See, I think I even got both of them synced up too. So if we watch, he throws across his body, not nearly as much as you do, but he's across his body with the low arm slot, with a very deep elbow retraction, but it's not getting high. So that way when he gets to his 90-90, it's not nearly as close to his head, right? This is like a guy that can show you a lot about your delivery versus what we're trying to get. This is all these little points I just got done mentioning. All right, so we can see how close it's getting to your head, and then how much that upper body is now trying to force yourself back this way to get things through. And we're always kind of really falling heavy that way. So that's what we mean for all three of you guys when we have that note of loading that arm up to a strong, safe position. So now, if you guys are wanting to work on that, we can go onto the YouTube page and the playlists that are mechanical drills, and we can go through here and we can find some that look like they could potentially help us with our throw. Like right here, I can just see in this thumbnail, there's a good 90 position loaded arm. I can go through and I can find some throwing drills and see if there's any of them that can specifically help me with that. I can go in here and see if there's anything that can help me, right? Use the resources that have been provided to you. We can also check out the arm care playlist, because I'm sure there's some arm care exercises that's going to keep us in a 90-degree arm position, right? Another thing we can all do is we can just get our backs up against a wall. We can put our throwing arm into that wall. Make sure you feel your elbow and your tricep pushing into that wall. Even better, be in your bathroom so you can look yourself in the mirror. And now it's just load my hand up, load my hand up, load my hand up, load my hand up. Then you can get some rhythm where you're a little bit further away from the wall and you're allowing your arms to go through it. Then you feel that elbow hit the wall and it's load my hand up, load my hand up, load my hand up. Muscle memory. Put in the reps and the results will follow. All right, we'll let you watch your video 2 times here. And then we will discuss that note that was provided for you in the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll get you a big league example to help illustrate that point. And then we'll show you where you can find the drills to help you start to work on this. All right, that note we gave you was to get some early momentum in your delivery, so that way you can help generate some energy in your delivery, but also, even more importantly, be able to get to the plate quicker, right? The slower we are to the plate in the stretch, the more chance guys have to take the bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a little line here. That's a bad line. And we're just going to kind of do some more, just so it can be a little bit easier for us to track motion, because we got a lot of things happening behind us that are going to make it tougher to see where we're going. So we got some of these lines here. And what we're going to watch is, at what point in your delivery do we start to really see the head get going? So it looks like it's about to. And then now we can say the eyes have gotten on the other side of a line. Right? They started here. We thought they were about to, and then they kind of didn't and almost went backwards a little bit. And now we're starting to go forward. So then if we just kind of mark our chin to the best straight line I can, does our body really get down anymore? I'm going to have to say not really, because now that front foot's in the ground and here's our chin. So then if I continue with that chin idea, that means our chin kind of just went like this. Down and then out, which means that's what my body did. Down and then out. We want to be going forward. So if we can get our body wanting to slowly drift forward during this leg lift, our body is going to be able to have some momentum going forward while your legs are loading you down. So that way, as you're going forward, you're also going down instead of down and then forward. There's that great Mythbusters clip where they got 3 different ramps. One is essentially there, the other one is there, and the third one is there. and they drop 3 balls at the same exact time from the same exact height down each of these ramps, and this one right here wins every single time as the first one to get to here. And that's our goal. Get to here, get that foot in the ground as quickly as we can. And if we're going down then out, it's not going to happen. It's not good for our maximum power production, and it's not going to help us get things flowing down. And that's why most of your body as we're throwing is just going forward with that throw, forward with that throw, forward with that throw, versus going down with that throw. So if we get big league video for you here, let's just get a lefty, and let's just use Chapman since he's the closest in the A's. And we watch how once his foot gets in the ground, when he goes to now rotate, he gets to go down with that rotation. Yes, it's going forward, but it's down. A lot of downward action with that upper body versus your upper body is kind of going forward. We do that same thing. Here's that line for you. And then that. All right, so it's not a whole lot. It's more just going forward than down. And that's why after your throw, your body goes so much forward versus being able to just finish around. Versus able to just finish around. Oh, we gotta pull up an example for you with the getting the momentum going. So let's use someone different than that, so I just don't keep using the same person. Let's use a Jacob deGrom. I know he's not left-handed, but if we draw those lines on deGrom's screen here, we're going to see how as that leg's coming up, his body is ever so slightly starting to go to the target. So that way, when the leg does go down and his back leg loads, he's going down and out during that period. Right? We do that same kind of thing with the chin like we did with you. Boom. 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 And now it's leveling out. See, there's our ramp again. Versus that. So that's what we mean when we give you the note of get some early momentum. As that leg is coming up, get the body going. Instead of the leg coming up, the leg lift going down, your back leg bending, and you just being still here. We're still here. We're still here. Versus we are off to the races. Off to the races. Off to the races. So if we want to work on this, we got to be on the YouTube page, going over to the playlist. You got mechanical drills down here. Click to view that full playlist. And then look at this first one right here, how to gain ground during my leg lift. That's the video for you. Watch that, learn how to do stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Then we'll have a better feel for it come next week. All right, we got your video clip, or your video clips, rather, synced up to when that ball is going to come out of your hand at release. We'll let you watch it twice in a row here before we revisit that note that was provided at the beginning of your chapter. And then we'll use a big league video to really help illustrate what we're looking to work on. And then we'll show you where we can get the drills to start practicing these things at home. And that note that we had for you was to drive your chest down / get out in front at release, which is going to help you generate power more and better. More power and generate it at a better efficiency. So once this front foot gets into the ground, it's time for us to now throw the baseball, which means these shoulders are going to rotate not just around, but we need to get this baseball to get released as far out in front of us as we can. And the way we're going to be able to do that is not just having the shoulders rotate around a tall body, but we want these shoulders to be rotating around a body that's going forward towards that target. So if we draw a little bit better line than that, and we allow yourself to rotate to the point of release, ball's out of your hands there, and we draw another line up your back through your ear and out your eye, and we say that's the amount that your upper body went forward while your shoulders rotated forward. Another way we can think of it is that's how much your chest, your trunk, this area from your shoulders to your hips, how much of this you sent with your throw. You sent with your throw. How much of it, as you rotated, are you able to rotate forward? And what we see is yours is about this much. Now, if I get a big leaguer up here and we pause Logan Gilbert at his moment of foot getting into the ground, and we just slide him this way, right there, and we'll slide you right there, okay? And now we draw, right, we're both at that moment that front foot hits the ground, front foot hits the ground. We draw your straight line, we draw his straight line, and then we get you to the moment of release, and we draw that line again, and then we get Gilbert at release, and we can see how much he's bringing down compared to you bringing down. Obviously, this is a very extreme example, but I need an extreme example to show you what's possible versus what we're doing. So when we say we need to be working on driving your chest down or getting out in front at release, this is what we mean. This ball is getting released here compared to his body. Your ball is getting released out of your hand between these two frames here. So we'll just say right here, there. And we're trying to get this thing out in front. So if we want to be working on this at home and we want to actually get better, we got drills on the YouTube page where once you're at the home page of Pitching Daily, all you gotta do is click the playlists, scroll down to view full playlist of the mechanical drills, and then we can find things in here that would be helpful for throwing down or getting out in front. Oh, trunk tilt. We just said this area is our trunk. And if I need to get it tilted out in front at release, this is probably a great drill for me to be doing. I can also be going into other playlists like the mobility, stability, and balance playlist, and I can be looking for things that may have me getting my body out in front more that would be helping me get comfortable with that. Something like RDL reaches is going to be very helpful for you to be doing. So continue to use the YouTube page. There are so many resources on the homepage here. How to get better. We got the 4 main playlists, so you don't even have to hit playlist here. If you just scroll down a little bit, arm care playlist, the mobility, stability, balance playlist, the mechanical drill playlist, listening to mechanics is here. Everything's here, fellas. Let's use these resources. Let's use the playlists to help you find exactly what you're looking for. So we'll let you watch your video 2 times here before we revisit that note that was provided. And then we'll use Big League example to help illustrate what we're trying to work on here. And then we can show you how we can start to work on this by utilizing the YouTube page and all the resources that are provided there. And that note that was provided at the beginning of our chapter is referring to keeping your front leg closed as long as possible. So that way we have a better way to generate and hold our power and send it late versus early and gradual. Late and all at once versus early and gradual. So what we're going to notice is already this front foot is opening, which means very quickly here this front knee is going to, bam, open up. And now once that opens up, very quickly our front hip is going to want to open up. And now we are kind of swooping and then now just kind of reaching with that front leg to get into the ground versus being able to rotate it into the ground. We have one limb that can do rotational power for us, another limb that can do rotational power for us, a third and final limb that can do rotational power for us, because this can't do any rotational power for us except for staying firm and closed, aka not over here, but here. So that way when limbs 1, 2, and 3 that we just mentioned come time to rotate, it's rotating firmly and to our target. Because as soon as that glove gets out there, that elbow gets out there, that front shoulder now starts to open up. We can see that shoulder is opening up as that foot's getting into the ground. And now you're not looking chin over shoulder, you're looking chin over nipple. Versus chin over shoulder here, but that foot's not in the ground yet. And the reason we lose that connectivity is because the glove has gotten so far out here. It's over here, and then it just keeps going that way. This swivel motion that you're doing here with that glove, this right there, that swivel motion that you're doing is the right motion. It's just doing it here instead of doing it into here. But that's a secondary point. The main point is making sure that that front leg stays closed. If we use a guy like Madison Bumgardner to illustrate this for us, we're going to watch that front leg of his, and we're going to notice how as it's going down the mound, it's not opening up. Right? We come back with you from the top of your leg lift, everything's almost already opened versus top of his leg lift, right? We don't need to lift this leg on the outside of your elbows. Just you have a huge opening here. Put the knee in there. Right? You're over here trying to lift this up like it's a garage door to fit your knee up underneath it. We don't need that. You got all of this space here. Look how relaxed his hands are, because that high leg lift can just go right in between it. Right in between it. versus having to think, I got to get this elbow up out of the way, and then, I'm not going to have time, so now I'm just going to kick the knee kind of this way, and then now everything is just opened, right? Foot's opened, knees opened, hips about to start to open. Versus closed, closed, closed. Right? You guys are both getting that glove way out here, getting that glove way out here. Both going to get the arm up into external early. Both going to get the arm loaded up into external early. But look where Mad Bum's glove goes. To the body. And then your glove goes off to the side and then to the body. Right? So you think, oh, look, I finished my glove nice and tight to my body, without even realizing that it's coming from over here, dealing this damage to our efficiency, which is now minimizing our power. So let's think about, if we want to move the hands up during the leg lift, that's fine, but let's just be moving the hands, right? Let's just be moving the hands. We don't need to be moving the elbows as well. And then put your knee between your hands, not to your elbow and then outside of your elbow. Excuse me. Okay. If I was you, I'd be YouTubing Madison Bumgarner or going on my Instagram and searching for the Madison Bumgarner clips I have, because you guys can have very similar mechanics if you worked at it. Versus everything getting opened early. So front foot and leg, or front legs getting opened early, and then your front arm is getting open. So everything on our front side is just getting opened early on us, taken away from our kinetic sequence and therefore our power and health. So if this is something that we want to be working on, we've got to be going to the YouTube page and using our resources, right? Coming down here to the how to get better. We got the main playlist right here for that, or we can click the playlist button and find what we're looking for, right? Something we could be looking to do is going and using this mobility, stability, and balance playlist. And we can be looking at things that's going to help us help stay closed, right? Even though this one says keeping back, knee back, that drill, we can do that same exact drill and just work on making sure that the front leg stays closed as we do that drill. All right, we can do some stability stuff with that front leg and just keep on encouraging the strength in that leg so we have control over that leg. We can go and visit the mechanical drill playlist, and we can be looking at different throwing drills that we have. We can see what kind of med balls there are. We can find all sorts of things out here. We can be doing front leg rotation drills, since that's kind of what we're talking about as well, right? Just utilizing the resources, get familiar with these different videos and be able to use them to help you.